Welcome to the deep dive. Ever get tripped up on whether to say enjoy swimming or enjoy to swing?
Ah, yes, that classic one.
Today, we're really going to try and untangle that English grammar puzzle. When do you use the gerund, the ing form, and when do you use the infinitive, the to plus the verb?
Exactly. And this whole deep dive was actually sparked by a great question from Raphael. He's a listener of Ask BBC Learning English.
Oh, right, from their May 8th show.
That's the one. Yeah, he was asking about this exact point.
Okay. So Raphael, and of course you, our listener, our mission today is pretty clear. We want to bring some clarity here. It can be confusing.
Definitely. The goal is to give you some practical tips, some insights, so you feel, more confident choosing between these forms.
Think of it as your express route to feeling a bit stronger with this bit of English grammar.
And we've sort of boiled it down to 4 main tips, 4 key principles, really, that cover most situations. We'll walk you through those.
All right, sounds good. Let's dive right in. Tip number 1. After a preposition, you generally use the gerund, the yin form.
Right. And we know the common prepositions, like in, on, at, about.
But they pop up in other places too, don't they? Not just on their own.
Absolutely. They can follow adjectives, like I'm interested in learning more about grammar.
Okay, so interested is the adjective, in is the preposition.
And learning is the gerund. Exactly.
Makes sense. And they follow verbs sometimes.
Yep. Think about I regret not checking the answers.
Ah, interesting. So not is acting like a preposition there.
In that kind of structure, yes. And it's followed by checking, the gerund.
Okay. And what about when a preposition actually starts the whole sentence?
Good point. Like, after having breakfast, I drink coffee. After is the preposition setting things up.
And having is the gerund.
Right.
It shows the relationship, the timing.
Precisely. But here's the tricky one you hinted at.
The word to. Everyone thinks to means infinitive, right?
Almost automatically. But to can absolutely be a preposition. And when it is,
the rule still applies. Gerund follows.
the rule still applies. Think about I look forward to meeting you.
Okay, explain that one. Why isn't it to meet?
Because in look forward to isn't part of an infinitive verb. It's a preposition. It shows the direction of your looking forward towards the meeting.
Ah, I see. So the to belongs with look forward, not with meet.
Exactly. So the action that follows meeting takes the impairing form. It's crucial to see if to is linking to the action as an action, or if it's just indicating direction or connection.
That's a really useful distinction. Okay, let's move to tip number 2. After an adjective, you usually use the infinitive.
Yes, this one feels a bit more, regular for many people.
So the pattern is adjective plus to plus base verb.
Generally, yes. When a verb follows an adjective to sort of explain or modify it, the infinitive is the typical choice.
Can you give us a couple of examples?
Sure. It's easy to learn English. Easy is the adjective.
And to learn is the infinitive, explaining what is easy.
Perfect. Or maybe you're difficult to please.
Okay, same pattern. Adjective difficult, infinitive to please.
Right. It's like the infinitive completes the idea started by the adjective. It's a pretty reliable rule of thumb.
Good. Okay, principle number 3. This one's about when the verb itself is the subject of the sentence.
Ah, yes. When the action is the topic.
What's the usual form then?
So when the action is the main focus, the subject, we generally prefer the gerund, the ing form.
It's like the ing form turns the verb into a noun, right? The name of the activity.
That's a great way to put it. Yes. It functions like a noun in that position.
Now, I know you can technically use the infinitive as a subject, but it sounds a bit off sometimes.
It does. It can sound quite formal, maybe a little old-fashioned.
Yeah.
To be or not to be.
Right, not everyday conversation usually.
Exactly. The gerund just feels much more natural, more current in spoken English.
So, examples of gerunds as subjects.
Okay. How about playing volleyball is fun?
Right. Playing is the subject, the thing that is fun.
Precisely. Or working with animals can be dangerous.
Again, working is the action, the subject. It takes the ing.
You've got it. You just need to spot what the sentence is actually about. If it's about an action, the gerund is usually your best bet for the subject.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, tip number 4. This feels like the most complex one. Verb patterns.
This is where things get a bit more specific to individual verbs.
So the idea is that the first verb in a pair often dictates whether the second verb is a gerund or an infinitive.
That's the core idea. Some verbs just naturally team up with gerunds, others with infinitives.
And sometimes a verb can take either.
Yes, and that's where it gets really interesting because sometimes the meaning stays the same and sometimes it changes completely.
Right. And there aren't always simple rules for why a verb prefers one or the other.
Not simple catch-all rules, unfortunately. It often relates to the meaning of that first verb, things like continuation, feeling, intention, planning. But it often requires learning the common patterns.
Okay. Let's break it down. What about verbs that nearly always take a gerund? Any common themes there?
Well, often they relate to likes and dislikes, or continuing or finishing an action, things you experience, like enjoy.
Ah, right. So I enjoy studying grammar.
Exactly. Enjoy is usually followed by that ing form because it's about the experience itself. Others like finish, avoid, mind. They often take the gerund.
Okay. What about the ones that consistently want an infinitive?
These often relate to plans, intentions, decisions, hopes, things pointing towards the future, often.
Like want.
Want is a perfect example. I want to learn some new recipes. Want sets up an intention, and the infinitive expresses that goal. Others like decide, hope, plan, need, usually infinitive.
Right. Now, the tricky middle ground verbs that can take either, sometimes the meaning is basically the same.
Exactly. Take like. You could say, I like watching TV, or I like to watch TV.
And they mean pretty much the same thing, just I enjoy the activity.
Pretty much. Maybe a tiny nuance sometimes, but generally interchangeable. Same with love, hate, prefer, start, continue.
But then, the ones where the meaning changes dramatically, that's where you really need to pay attention.
Oh, absolutely. This is crucial for clear communication. The classic example is stop.
Okay, walk us through stop.
Right. If you say, I stopped having a rest, what does that mean?
It means you were resting and then you finished resting. You went back to work or whatever.
Precisely. You stop the activity of resting. But if you say, I stopped to have a rest.
That means you were doing something else, like walking, and you paused that activity in order to start resting.
You've got it. The infinitive to have shows the purpose for stopping the other activity. Completely different meaning.
Wow, yeah. That one example really shows why this matters. It's not just picky grammar, it changes the whole message.
It really does. And that BBC Learning English page you mentioned, Raphael's source, they have great follow-ups on this.
Oh, yeah. What kind of things?
Things like lists, 5 verbs followed by ing and specific deep dives into pairs like stop to do versus stop doing, go on doing versus go on to do, forget to do versus forget doing.
Those sound really useful for drilling down into these specific meaning changes.
They really are. Great for self-study if you want to master these nuances.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of our 4 main tips. First, after a preposition.
Usually use the gerund, dekai, pasting, watch out for to, acting as a preposition.
Second, after an adjective.
Usually use the infinitive, to plus verb.
Third, when the verb is the subject.
The gerund pening is generally the more natural choice.
And fourth, verb patterns are key. Some verbs take gerunds, some take infinitives.
And some take either, but sometimes that changes the meaning quite significantly, like with stop.
Right. So while we have these helpful guidelines, those specific verb patterns, well, they need some focused attention.
They do. It involves noticing patterns, maybe a bit of memorization as you go, just building that familiarity with how English works.
So for you listening, the takeaway is maybe to become a bit of a language detective.
Yeah, I like that.
Start noticing these gerunds and infinitives when you're reading or listening. See how they're used in context. It really helps it sink in.
Absolutely. And, thinking about how much difference that little ing or to can make, it raises a bigger question, doesn't it?
What are you thinking?
Well, considering how these seemingly tiny grammatical choices pack such a punch in terms of meaning, what other subtle bits of English grammar might be doing the same thing? Things we might overlook, but that subtly shift the meaning or the tone.
That's a great question. Definitely something to keep an ear out for, food for thought.